Hi, I'm Sarah Corbin, and we're here tonight to talk about emotional release. Do you ever find yourself like short-tempered, feeling overwhelmed, having a hard time focusing, feeling like you're drowning, or uncomfortable tightness or burning in different places like your throat, your stomach, your chest? All of these can be indicative of trapped emotions in your body. As a kid, I was often told not to cry, or that I was very sensitive, or like, oh, you just need a nap, you're tired, every time I had like big emotions. And so that kind of led me to be the kind of person who stuffs my emotions instead of processing them. And then as an older teen, I had some really self-destructive tendencies and behaviors. And I think that could have been part of, that could have stemmed from me shoving my emotions down as a kid. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just saying this is how it is. Um, and then as an adult with even bigger problems, my habit is still to suppress my emotions and suppress the bad and kind of focus on feeling the good. Like that's how I do it. I kind of use toxic positivity on myself, and it's really not healthy. When I came into the Young Living world 8 years ago, I had no idea that essential oils were as powerful emotionally as they are physically. Yes, they can really help my headaches, but they can also go deeper and help with the anxiety and stress and sadness and guilt, whatever it is that may have caused my headaches in the first place. So tonight it's going to be a really brief overview on how oils can help us dig up and deal with the deeply buried emotional issues that we have been better, or that we would have been better off processing a long time ago when they first happened. So first we're going to talk about emotions and the brain. And emotions are like, we can't avoid emotions. It's part of our everyday lives. They're basically just reactions that we experience in response to events or situations. So the type of emotion that we experience is determined by our thoughts of the circumstance, and that is what triggers the emotion. So for example, I use this one, my birthday is coming up. So I could think, okay, the birthday is my circumstance. It's neutral, it's data, it's a number. I was born on June 9th. But what I think about my birthday is what is going to trigger my emotional response. So let's say I might think I'm another year older and I haven't achieved this goal yet. That might lead to me feeling shame, which could be felt like somewhere in the body. Usually like shame for me, I feel it like in my gut. Um, or I might think, oh, I get to celebrate with my loved ones. And that thought triggers emotions like excitement, joy, happiness, love. And that maybe I'll feel here or like in my face smiling or something like that. Um, so there's a physical reason for that. Our brains have specific areas where we process emotion. Um, Reggie, sorry, hold on. Okay, sorry. um, Forgot Reggie sleeping on my bed. Um, and there's a little neighbor girl that ran by. So there's a physical reason for the emotion, the feeling that's linked to the thought about our circumstance. Um, our brains have specific areas where we process emotion, and the system of the brain responsible for memory and mood is the limbic system. It includes the hippocampus, the hypothalamus, and the amygdala. When we look at the structure of the brain, we see that the amygdala is a tiny almond-shaped structure, and that is a very key part of emotion. And then the hippocampus is where new nerve cells are created. is physically beside the structure that is responsible for emotions, and it's connected to the nose via a cranial nerve. And that sounds really sciencey, but just to break it down, the part of the brain where new nerve cells are created is connected to the part that processes emotions, and that is also connected to our sense of smell. So that is why essential oils can be very powerful tools in emotions and rewiring your brain cells, really, to be more positive, or to just stop like a thought process that's like a habit for you. So if you're, you have a circumstance and you're always thinking negatively about it, essential oils can come in there and interrupt that and change it. So it's really powerful. It's how we can process trauma, rewire our brains, and how we can move forward in peace. And so like that's pretty much the overview of what we're going to talk about tonight. So here's another quick sciencey thing to understand as we talk about emotions. The central nervous system. So it has two branches, the autonomic nervous system and the sympathetic nervous system. Autonomic is also sometimes referred to as a parasympathetic nervous system. So the autonomic nervous system controls involuntary responses, breathing, blood flow, blood pressure, digestion, all those things that our body does that we don't actually have to think about and make ourselves do. And then the sympathetic nervous system is in charge of controlling the body's fight or flight system. And both of the symptoms are affected and involved in our emotional responses. So for right now, we're going to focus on the sympathetic nervous system, which is the fight or flight response. There are three different places. I don't know how, like, this kind of a, not the perfect word, but 3 different places within the sympathetic nervous system. So there's ventral, sympathetic, and dorsal. When we are in the ventral phase, or ventral place in our sympathetic nervous system, we feel calm, grounded. We're able to give and receive connection with others. Otherwise, we're like living in the correct amount of energy. We're balanced. We are at peace. We are just like living at the right level of energy. And then the sympathetic, when we go into the sympathetic place in the nervous system, we're hyperactive, frustrated, angry, yelling, anxious, panicking, defensive. So that's like too much energy. And for many years, I lived in that sympathetic system. As a young mom, like I had five babies within 7 years. I lived on coffee, very like not the best food. I had a bunch of toxins in my home. I had not just the 5 children, but I also had a stepson that lived with us, and I had to deal with, I'm just going to say I had to deal with his mom. That responsibility was put on me, and it was a lot for me to handle. On top of having a lot of babies and nursing for that many years, and all of that goes along with it, plus being a military wife. So I was always in that sympathetic system. Too much energy. I just felt like I was like boiling constantly. Even if I wasn't angry, I just felt like, oh my goodness, like so much going on, so overwhelmed, so on edge all the time. And then the dorsal part of the sympathetic nervous system is when we are shut down. We are closed off, we're depressed, zoned out, numb, apathetic, hopeless, sluggish. So that's like drained or zero energy. So at one point after my 3rd baby was born, I went into the dorsal. So like my sympathetic could not take it any longer. So it just shut down because I wasn't feeding my body well. I wasn't sleeping enough. Like that was a very, very stressful time in my life. And so my body just shut down, and I went into really awful, like postpartum depression, with anxiety, like it was really bad. And so you can only be in that sympathetic state for so long before your body is like, we're done, we can't do it anymore. And so that's why that's when we see like adrenal fatigue happen, or like serious depression or anxiety disorders. Any of that happens usually between the sympathetic and the dorsal phases. So when we think about each of these three states, like you can think about, sit and just kind of imagine when you know you're in that ventral state. And what does that feel like to you emotionally? What is your surroundings when you are experiencing that? And then think about it emotionally and physically. How does your body feel physically? And then think about how you feel when you're in the sympathetic. Like I just described how I felt when I was in the sympathetic phase. And I was there for most of my adult life, and pretty much until I started Young Living. And Stress Away like literally changed that for me. And I didn't even understand that fully until I was reading this class. I was like, oh, that's why. Until I read about this. Like, I didn't know that there were 3 different phases or 3 different places or parts of your sympathetic nervous system until I was reading through to do this class. And then think about when you have been maybe in the dorsal part of your sympathetic nervous system, when you felt shut down. And then you, like, if you can think about those things, maybe write them down, say like, okay, when I was, like, I'll just give an example. At Abigail's wedding, it was great. We were in Tennessee. It was beautiful there. We got away from all the mess of like 2020 and 2021. We got to flee the state and go somewhere else for a couple weeks. It was amazing. I was peaceful. I wasn't on edge. I wasn't too hungry or too thirsty or like lacking anything. I had family around me. It felt amazing. And then, so I know like the situation, I know the circumstances that were around me when I was in that state. And then, with the sympathetic, I described that to you guys. And then the dorsal, I also know what that looked like for me and what that can look like for me. And so just knowing kind of how the feelings and the emotions and the physical feeling in my body during those different states, that can help us recognize triggers. So that can help us, if we start feeling like that sympathetic is really amping up and we have way too much of that really negative energy, then we can say like, okay, hold on a second. Like, how can I shift this? How can I shift from feeling overwhelmed and like I'm anxious and yelling at people and I'm snapping at my family or whatever? How can I change that to the more, to go back to the ventral state, to peaceful and calm? And we can do that with essential oils. So our goal is to spend as much time in that ventral state, in the ventral energy, but like past trauma and pain can hijack that system and send us down into the activated sympathetic state or into the numbed and depressed dorsal state. So that's why it's really important for us to identify trauma and process and heal the past so that we can rewire those responses and spend our time in a calm state with the right amount of energy. And this is also the energetic state where we can grow and connect and thrive in life. So one of our best tools, of course, is essential oils. And how can they help with our emotions? Because the power of aromatherapy and the limbic system. So our sense of smell is directly related to our emotions and our mood. That cranial nerve that's associated with smell goes from our nose into our brain and ends next to the hypothalamus. And we've already talked about this a little bit, but it's the part of the brain that is responsible for our mood, our feelings, our emotional processing. And that's why our scent is so powerful in triggering memories. Like a certain flower, like the stargazer lily reminds me of my wedding, because that's what I had my wedding. So that like imprinted the memory of that on my brain. The smell of like certain other flowers or vanilla or whatever it is, they can take you back and make you think of a person or a place where you were as a child. Even like our sense of scent is so powerful. It's it can take us back to things that we didn't even remember. Like it's not in our conscious memory. It can trigger it and bring it back to the forefront of our mind. And so that's why aromatherapy is so effective when it comes to processing emotions, and dealing with our needs, such as anxious thoughts and stress and depression, low mood. So essential oils are also great for emotions because they contain constituents that can cross the blood-brain barrier and help reprogram bad coding as a result of trauma. So that might sound scary. It's really not. Just the molecules are so tiny that they can pass that barrier, which for a long time, scientists thought that was impossible for anything to cross the blood-brain barrier, but essential oil molecules do that. So they can go in places that other things can't, medicines, therapies, whatever. Essential oils are, I really just believe that they're God's way. It's a gift to us to use to to live in the abundance that he created for us, or that is possible for us. So they can help reprogram that bad coding as a result of trauma. And then other compounds within the oils rewrite that code to restore the original perfect copy of the cell. And one that will not keep us pulled into the physical and emotional effects of stress. This is a process, but the great thing about essential oils is that we have a choice to embrace the process instead of loading our bodies up with toxins, chemicals, and other things that create more confusion in the cells. So there's no shame in using conventional tools that are available when it's needed, but remember that they're intended for use while you're also doing the emotional work. So if you might be prescribed like a SSRI, like Zoloft or something like that. And I have used Zoloft before when I had postpartum depression. It was enough to kind of pull me out of it, out of that dorsal state. However, I wasn't actually addressing the issues in the first place. Nobody told me, Sarah, you're not eating protein. Like, Sarah, you're not taking walks or exercising, or how much are you sleeping? They didn't ask me those things. They were just like, here's some pills. These will help you feel good. And so even though I stopped taking the meds, eventually I weaned myself off, because I didn't want that to be a permanent fix for me. I just wanted it to get me feeling better so that I could function and take care of my family and myself. But I was not at the same time working on the emotional issues that led me to that state in the first place, or the physical issues like eating and sleeping and exercising that were really important. So, so always like, remember, if that is your case and you need something from the doctor, like don't be ashamed of that. You can do that. But don't forget to actually address the issues, because a lot of times we forget that part, or we just like, this is the easy button, is this pill. But then once you stop taking those pills, or some people are on them forever, but once you want to stop taking the pills, you're going to have to address those. So it's really good to combine your essential oils. They're not going to create anything, side effects or anything like that with those pharmaceuticals. So the emotional essential oils, the blends that we have, really there's a emotional component to every single essential oil that we have. But it's a really good tool to work on in conjunction with pharmaceuticals. Some people don't need the pharmaceuticals. I'm not pushing that at all, but I'm just saying, like, don't forget to also deal with the actual issue that is at hand. So adding the oils, daily affirmations or prayer and emotional processing to the daily routine can help you to truly rewire the system, to create a more peaceful baseline for your emotional health. So there's an important disclaimer here, and I'm a little bit of an oil snob, so this is where it's going to come out. We want peace of mind knowing that we're getting the best possible options, especially when it comes to like farming and harvesting and distilling the plants for our essential oils. Also, two more things that are really important to me. The sustainability, like we don't want to take out all of the, certain plants to go extinct because we are overusing them to bottle them into our essential oils. That would be wrong. That wouldn't be ethical. And also how the company treats people. So Young Living has farms around the world, and they are very, very thoughtful of the children in these third world countries where the parents come to work on the farm. They will start schools so that the children aren't farm workers, because in other countries that's very common that the children just go to work with their parents, or the children work themselves. Like I'm sure a lot of us are aware of like the mining in Africa. Like they send these children into these mines, or mica in India, the MICA, it's like a powdery substance, shiny, that they put in makeup. That's mined by children. And so Young Living is so against that. They have a lot of really amazing, the Young Living Foundation has different organizations in different parts of the world that make sure that children in those areas where we have farms are thriving and they're being taken care of. So those are two really important things to me, as well as like the product itself and the purity of the product. So Young Living is a company that is dedicated to the purity and purpose of our products. We're family owned still. After 20, I think we're at 27 or 28 years now. 2019, 20, 21. Oh, are we going on like almost like 29 years, right? Because I went to the 25th anniversary convention, and that was in 2019. So we're getting close to 30 years. So it's a farm-driven group of people who simply want to create the very best sustainable oils and products for the people that we care about. Products that bring us thriving physical, mental, and emotional health. And products that are convenient for us to use and easy to incorporate into our daily lives. Also, products that are backed by proven science and experiential evidence, and they will never sacrifice the quality for any reason. So we have the best scientists in the world. So for this, for essential oils, we have the best scientists on the Young Living team. Excuse me. And Gary Young was the pioneer of essential oils in the United States. So Young Living also embraces a rigorous quality control standard to make sure that each product, each oil meets strict specifications. So anyway, the pristine final product is what we know as it's been created to with all of that in mind. So from like the seed that they plant in the ground, they make sure that those are the best seeds that they plant and in the best soil, and everything is organic. It's not labeled organic, but everything is organic. If you like, people talk about the cost and they talk about organic, and I'm like, you can't have both. You like, yes, they are, you get what you pay for. Like Young Living oils, they are more expensive sometimes, not always, but they are on the pricier side. That's because of what goes into producing that oil. But then other people are like, often it's the same people. They're like, they're not organic. I only buy organic, but they actually are organic. If they put the organic label on there, it would drive the cost way up. Okay. And sometimes it's not even possible because it's from a different country. So just to throw that out there, because that is a huge objection for a lot of people. Those are both objections for me before I started. I was like, why isn't it organic? If they're so great. It is better than organic. So with all of that said, I don't recommend going to Amazon or Walmart. Don't even buy Young Living from Amazon or Walmart. It is not the same because you can buy these white caps, dump out the oil, dilute it, do whatever you want to do with it. And you can buy replacement caps that they're brand new. So you just screw them on and boom, it looks like it's brand new, never been opened. Those are not trustworthy places. Plus, a lot of times they actually cost more than buying it on the website. So don't get them at Walmart, Ross, Target, anywhere. Okay. And yeah, even those online dealers who say they're just as good, but they cost less. I don't think so. Producing the quality of essential oils that we get from Young Living is a very costly process. So I've seen the labs, I've been to the farms, and I trust them 100%. And I would gladly pay more money for this because it actually works. Okay. I used the other brands before because I was not willing to spend the money and then really invest in myself. So a lot of those are just cheap knockoffs in my educated opinion. So now let's talk about releasing the emotional patterns. So sometimes the thing that helps us buckle down to make a change is actually to let go. That sounds easy, but it takes intentional work to truly let go and not revisit the past pains that feel like a big old gaping wound. So it takes work. It does. Emotional processing, it takes a lot of mental work. It's physical often, and it takes time. So, but we are equipped with the tools to help us do that work. So the starting point is you take a second, think about your past, think about something that just keeps coming back to you, something that keeps bothering you. Like for me, it was something that a friend said to me as a child, and that keeps holding me back in my relationships and in my business. And so like, if you can think about that, if you want to think about that, I know this isn't a therapy session, but you can think about that and kind of hold on to that experience and the emotions that come with it. And we're going to talk about trauma. So it's kind of like a popular word to throw around lately. But there is a good reason for that. So we've all experienced things in our lives that have shaped us for good or bad. And oftentimes we have experienced trauma that has created habits and responses in us that can be overlooked. So like I said, the thing with my friend, I didn't realize that was the thing that was holding me back until I actually went to it's called the aroma freedom technique, or something like that. I went to a one-on-one call with somebody who is certified in aroma release. So it brought it back, and it shocked me that was the actual thing that was holding me back. So if you feel easily overwhelmed, anxious about the future, frustrated with how your life has turned out, you're easily annoyed with like family or coworkers, or you're snappy at people, you likely have trauma that needs to be processed. So sometimes it takes a little bit of digging to find it, to find how it shaped you, to find how it's showing up in your life today. And if we don't do the work to process these emotions, then they can remain stuck in our bodies and in our subconscious, where they continue to like fester and, like cause headaches and cause a backache. Or there's a book out there called The Body Keeps the Score. I have not read it, but it deals with this specifically. So once we identify that trauma or the experience that keeps like keeps us in this subconscious cycle of thought and emotion, and kind of like holds us back in our life. We can, once we've identified it, we can take active and intentional steps to release those emotional patterns. And the oils are amazing tools for that. We can use scent to revisit past pain, to honor that experience, to heal the wound, and to move forward in peace. And we have the capability to rewire those pathways of trauma that are causing our nervous systems to move into fight or flight, or just a shutdown mode. And it's a really powerful tool. So I'll just go with the example. And you're not supposed to compare traumas. I'm just using the one of my friend hurting me when I was a little kid, because that was something that was triggered in my memory from doing the aroma freedom technique session with my friend. And so I'm going to give that as my example. So what I did is I believe that we used the oil called Inner Child, but she had me think about that experience, close my eyes, smell the Inner Child oil, and really sit and feel how I felt as that 11-year-old girl who just got my feelings hurt really bad. And then I was able to kind of reframe that and heal it. And the way I did that was we used different oils, and I kind of revisited it as my more mature adult self, and kind of sat with my little girl self in that moment and said, you know what, it's okay. You don't have to, like, I let myself work through and process that hurt instead of just like bottling it up and holding it inside of me. So when I did that, it was really powerful. And then the therapist told me, use that essential oil every morning. And you can do it like up to 20 times a day. You just have to sniff it out of the bottle like that, or you can put it in your hands and cup it like this and really smell it and really inhale it really deep and to like, so you feel it in your whole body, and then release it. And so I was doing that like every day for 30 days, focusing on that oil and being able to tell my little self like that that wasn't okay for her to talk to me that way, and that I don't have to believe what she said about me. And so that really transformed me. And so I'm just using that as an example. I know some of us might have like deeper traumatic experiences than our best friend hurting our feelings, but that's just the one, that is one example of something that I've used in my life. And so I wanted to tell you guys like what that looked like, that process for me. So we are going to talk about an essential oil called Release. And it's this beautiful purple bottle. Release is one of my favorites, and it contains ylang ylang, lavender, geranium, royal Hawaiian sandalwood. I think that's why I love it. I love everything with sandalwood. Grapefruit, tangerine, lemon, blue cypress, davana, which is a very powerful emotional oil, lime, ocotea, jasmine, chamomile, blue tansy, which is highly supportive and calming to the central nervous system, blue tansy. So that's also in peace and calming and in valor and some other blends. But it's really powerful in those two, or very prominent in those two, as well as Release. And then it also contains rose. So in short, it's a powerhouse blend of highly valuable oils that are high frequency, especially rose, davana, and jasmine. They're very high frequency. This is not, I don't want to get on the frequency tangent, but that would be an amazing class to do another time. And so that high frequency helps us to tap into our past trauma that we've experienced, honor the experiences, heal the wounds, and release the pain to move forward into our full potential. So just a breakdown of what these oils do. Royal Hawaiian sandalwood and blue tansy specifically help to stimulate the pineal gland to remember and release past hurts and to soothe the central nervous system, which is the fight or flight system. And then oils like grapefruit, tangerine, lemon, and lime are great tools for processing feelings of sadness and grief. And those always come in the presence of trauma or distress. Basically, the oils in release are perfect for helping you find that emotional exhale. It helps us to release. So there's a really good breathing technique that I found. So I'm gonna show you how I use this, and I'll just put a drop or two in my hand. And I think I learned this at convention or something, but you put it in your hand and you circle it clockwise 3 times, 1, 2, 3, and then you can smell it. But there's a technique. You breathe in for 4 seconds, you hold it for 7, and then you breathe out for 8. And when you breathe out for 8 seconds, you really like push it all out of your lungs. Okay, so I'm just going to show you what that looks like. So once I got to 8, it was like there was no breath left in my lungs. Okay. So that's really powerful, and you can use your essential oils to do that. I think I actually learned that technique from Mel Robbins on her podcast or on a reel or something like that. But it's really helpful, and it kind of resets the central nervous system. Kind of tries to move us out of that sympathetic into the what was the first one called? I forgot. Not the dorsal, but the one that we want to be in. So we are, when we have traumas, we have past hurts or whatever we want to call it, they actually get stored deep within our cellular memory, and we can use the limbic system of the brain to help shift our thoughts and emotions around the traumas and the patterns that we have kind of created around it. And our brain likes those habits that keep us kind of stuck in the same cycles. So Release Essential Oil Blend can help us process and release the feelings of anger, frustration, being held back, rebellion, feeling wronged, the fear of success, and loss of identity. And it can help promote the positive side of these feelings, which are like cleansing and freedom and harmony and unconditional love. So things that, like, different practices that you can do with your release oil, diffuse it. It's a great one to diffuse at night. Sometimes when you do release those, though, you release things, you can do that in your sleep, and it can give you weird or scary dreams. If you're really processing things, essential oils can do that. So just be careful. I'm just warning you, you might have nightmares if you diffuse it. But it's still good for you, because that's your body's way of processing and releasing it and letting it go. You can diffuse throughout the day. You can apply it topically to your wrists. I love putting oils here, kind of like perfume. And then I look like a weirdo because I'm always like sniffing myself. Over your heart is a really good place. The edge of the ears, the feet, or just wherever you feel that emotion that you need to release, put it there. If you feel it in your belly, put it on your belly. If you feel it like in your throat, sometimes we feel it right here. We feel that physical trauma or whatever, we feel it here because we need to vocalize it. We need to say it out loud. We need to like let that be spoken. And sometimes just speaking it helps so much to release the pain or the trauma, whatever's holding you back. So I find that using an oil, well, also use the practice I just showed, the 4, 7, 8 practice with the breathing, the breath work, and use it every day. Like somehow do it every day. It's super easy just to put it on your wrist, like when you get out of bed or you get out of the shower or before you go to sleep at night. But using one oil a day for 30 days, the same oil, is very, very powerful. So I did that with joy, and it changed my life. Okay. So, so I would put it on my heart and just smell it and just, think joyful thoughts. Joy is one of our really great emotional blends. So use it every day, and you can repeat a scripture verse for release. Like you could say something like, I'm casting my burdens on the Lord because he cares for me. I forget what scripture that is. I always forget the numbers and where it's at, but where it says, cast your burdens upon him for he cares for you. You take the scripture and you put it into like a first person. You claim it as your own. Like, I'm casting my burdens on the Lord because he cares for me. Or, God, I'm casting my burdens on you because I know you care for me. So doing that along with the oil that you're using in that 30-day thing is really great. If you're not much into the Bible or scripture or prayer, an affirmation like, I am safe and I am loved, I'm valued, I'm open to success, I acknowledge my past and I'm moving forward. Those are good affirmations to say too. So so we have two great collections of oils that are perfect for emotional release. Release, the oil that I just told you about, that is in the feelings kit. That contains 6 emotional blends, and they're called forgiveness, valor, present time, harmony, and inner child. And release is the 6th. So that is really an amazing collection if you really need to focus on healing emotional trauma. And we have, I have resources. I have a class that goes through that if you get started with that, and that I can send you by email, or we could get online and do a Zoom class and we could go through each oil. That way I provide that for my customers. So that collection of the 6 oils is $203.25, but it's still May. We have today and tomorrow. There's a 20% off sale when you spend $200. So you could get that for 20% off, which is a really good deal. And those oils, if you do the process, you work through them the way that Gary Young made them to be used, you will have an amazing transformation experience. So the feelings kit, $203. If you're brand new, you can get it 20% off. The feelings kit is also something that you can buy if you are a current customer. You can purchase that with your loyalty rewards points. So I've saved up my points a lot to buy the feelings kit. And then I was like, wait, I have all those oils. I just actually need to add the present time to my collection or whatever. And so I've just done that. I haven't actually ever bought the whole feelings kit, but you can buy that for free with points if you are on loyalty. And if you want to know more about that, there will be a link in this video that you can read through. And then another great option is the premium starter bundle. That comes with 12 oils and a diffuser. It is the perfect, it's a perfect starter set of oils because it covers oils for digestion and pain and the respiratory system, for building your immune system. It comes with these amazing blends that are specifically for emotion. So stress away, peace and calming, valor. And then there's also frankincense and lavender. Those are very, very powerful emotional oils, but they're also good for, like, frankincense is pretty much good for anything that ails you. Put some frankincense on it. It's good for wrinkles. It's good for grounding. It's good for like mental clarity. It's good for all of that. So they're very versatile. Those 12 oils are probably the oils that I buy the most. I replace them as, they run out. Lemon, there's a citrus blend. It's amazing. I use most of those like almost daily. So that is a really great way to get started also. And I have a class that goes along with that as well. So for emotional processing. So those 2 bundles are the way I would get started. And if you haven't gotten started already, but if you are already a customer and you have you want to get the feelings kit, let me know and I will send you the information. If you want the emotional release stuff for the information for the premium starter bundle, let me know because I want to help you to be able to do that as well. And I have the information. I just need to know like who wants it. So that way I'm not bombarding everybody with an email a day if they don't want it. So anyway, that is, I'm going to wrap up this class for now, but I also want to add that I am becoming a certified coach. And a lot of what we talked about here is what I'm learning in my coaching class. And so I will be able to coach people through these issues using your essential oils, which I can't wait to do that and to be able to offer that for my team, for my friends. And so that's part of what you get as well from me when you're on my team, when you buy oils from me or from somebody on my team. So with all of that said, I want to just encourage you that you are not stuck. You don't have to be stuck in the trauma of your past experiences. And if you don't even want, some of us, we don't want to call that trauma, but if it is keeping us stuck, it's probably trauma. Okay. So like my friend hurting my feelings, it's not a big deal, but it was keeping me stuck for some reason because it did traumatize me as a little girl. Okay. So it's okay to say like, yes, this thing happened to me. It is holding me back. And sometimes like you have to really dig for what it is, but there are usually things there that need to be processed and released for you to have a more abundant life, to live in the purpose that God has for you. We don't have to be held back. So with all of that said, thank you for watching this, and send me a question if you have any questions on anything that I said. I would love to actually do the process. Maybe in another month or two, I would be able to do that. And I'll have my certification for coaching in July. So maybe after that would actually be the best time to do it because I will have practiced a lot by then. So anyway, thank you for watching, and send me any questions that you have. Find me on Instagram or Facebook, or if you have my phone number, give me a call or put it in the comment of this video. And I really appreciate you watching. If you watched the whole thing, congratulations. It's a lot. So yeah. So thank you.